Hi everyone, Sherri Onorati here, Archivist at the Tipton County Museum and family historian and genealogist. I've been a researcher for about 30 years now, and one of the questions I am asked most about is what exactly is a cousin? Maybe they found themselves having a debate with a family member about who their first cousin one time removed is, or grandpa's brother's son is your first cousin, or somebody's come up to you and said, hey, nice to meet you, I'm your second cousin 4 times removed. Do you have any idea what those terms exactly mean? If you don't worry, you're not alone. Most people have a good understanding of the basic relationship terms, such as uncle, aunt, mother, father, brother, sister, cousin. We all think cousin just means everybody. It's a great way of looking at it. So what exactly is a cousin? A cousin are people who share a common ancestor with you. So of at least 2 generations back. So first cousins are the children of your aunts and uncles. So your parents, your mom and your dad, their brothers and sisters, children, are your first cousins. In your research, if you can accurately determine somebody's relationship to you, it will help out in your research by enabling you to approximately figure out a timeline of where you should be looking for further research. Say if somebody's your first cousin 4 times removed, you're not going to think that their records will be the same timeline as yours. So you're not going to find maybe a birth certificate around your birth. They're going to be, in fact, a little bit older. So you're going to have to go further back. So that's why it's good to know exact relationship status when you're researching. So what exactly is a second or third or fourth cousin? We've already said that a cousin is someone who shares a generation, at least 2 generations back. A second, third, or fourth cousin, if you add a 1 to those numbers, that will tell you the number of generations between you. So if somebody is your second cousin, they are 3, the most recent common ancestor to you is 3 generations back. If someone is your fourth cousin, the ancestor you share is going to be 5 generations back. So that gives you an idea of where to look. If somebody comes up to you and tells you that you share a great, 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 great grandparent, and you can't think of what number of cousin that makes them, count the number of G's in that title. Great, 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 great grandparent. It's 5 G's. That makes them your 5th cousin. So what does it mean to be a first cousin once removed or a third cousin twice removed? Removed simply means generation. That's all it is. So a first cousin once removed is a generation below your first cousin. So if you look at it linear, I always tell people to look at relationships on a straight line. You have your first cousin, who is the child of your uncle and aunt. Their child would be your first cousin once removed, because that child is a generation below you. I know a lot of people think that the child of your first cousin is your second cousin. That's not the case. They are the second cousin for your children. Because again, you have your first cousin. You each go down a generation with your children. Those children straight across become second cousins because they are that second cousin's generations away from their common ancestor, which would be your grandparents. Remember, first cousins share grandparents. So you have your parents, then you, then those children. So that's 2 generations away. First cousin of your parents would be your first cousin once removed. An easy way to look at this is whatever cousin your parent is, and even your grandparent, you will be the same thing, just add generations removed to it. So your mother's second cousin 3 times removed would be your second cousin 4 times removed. So if we were to look at this chart here, it designates first cousin's family kin chart, and each of these blocks shows the relationship to the people to you. So when I talk to people about relationships, how to tell what a relationship is that they're trying to figure out, I tell them to draw your family tree chart on a linear level, which is just a straight line. So at the top here, you have your grandparents. You come down on the left side, you've got your parent. The right side is your parent's sibling, so they're brother or sister. So your parent and them are siblings. Next level down is you and your aunt or uncle's child. So linear, that level is your first cousin, straight across, your first cousin. The one above it is going to be your aunt or uncle because it's your parent's sibling. You go down to the next level. You have your child and then your first cousin's child. That level, if you go straight across, your child and their child would make them second cousins. You go down another level, that's 2 levels below you. You have your grandchild and your first cousin's grandchild. They would be third cousins. Now, if you look at where the arrows are going, we go back up to the U, it shows you diagonal up to the right to your aunt or your uncle. You straight across is your first cousin. You diagonal one down is your first cousin once removed. That is your relationship to your first cousin's child. You down 2 levels, that is your first cousin's grandchild. Your relationship would be first cousin because you are first cousin to their parent and your first cousin, their grandparent, but 2 times removed because that child is 2 generations below you. So for example, this picture here is my grandson, Liam, and his young cousins, my first cousin's children, Zara and Sasha. Now you have to find the most common recent ancestor, which for me is grandparents. And then you come down. So we have my father and his sister, my aunt, makes them siblings. I'm under my father. Under my aunt is Josh, who is Zara and Sasha's father. So me and their father are first cousins. Then I have a son who is Liam's father. Josh has Zara and Sasha. So that makes my son, remember, go linear, my son, in line with Zara and Sasha, makes them second cousins. My son has a son who is Liam, the little guy in the back there. He is going to be second cousins with Zara and Sasha once removed because he is a generation below them. So even though he is the same age as they are, he's actually a generation below them. And that's why he is a second cousin once removed. Once Zara and Sasha have children, Liam will be those children's third cousin. So here's a chart on the other side of my family, my maternal side. Again, my mom and my aunt, their parents, my grandparents, is going to be the most recent common ancestor. My mom and my Aunt Terry, the one in the red hair there that says aunt on her chest, they are siblings. The next level down, remember, think linear. The next level down, you have me, and you have my aunt's daughter, Dawn, who is in the pink shirt there, t-shirt with one C on her chest. We are first cousins. I have a son, and Dawn had 2 daughters. They're the ones holding the babies. So my son and Dawn are first cousins once removed, because my son is going to be a first cousin because I am first cousin to Dawn. But he's once removed because he's in a generation below Dawn. The same thing goes for Dawn's daughters, Carissa and Shantae. They are going to be my first cousins because their mother is my first cousin. But again, they are one generation below me, so they are my first cousin once removed. Because my son and Carissa and Shantae, remember linear, are on the same line, they are second cousins because I am first cousins with their mother. If you go down another level, because we have people that fill those positions, my son had a son, Liam, the baby in the previous picture, and Carissa and Shantae have children now. They're holding some of their babies, and one of the boys is in front of my aunt. Those children are going to be second cousins to Carissa and Shantae. Liam is second cousin to Carissa and Shantae because his father is a second cousin to Carissa and Shantae, but once removed because Liam is a generation below them. The same thing with my son, because my son is second cousins with Carissa and Shantae. Their children will be my son's second cousin, but also once removed because they are a generation below my son. Now, if you go again linear, Liam and the babies are going to be third cousins because they are straight apart from each other on a linear line. Now, remember that little tip I said. If you want to find out, if you don't know what the number of cousins is, count the number of G's that takes you back to the most recent common ancestor for those people you're trying to figure out. So if you look at the grandparents up there, that's my grandparents, but for my son, it's great-grandparent, and for Liam and the babies, it's their great-great-grandparents. So if you look at it, they have great-great-grandparents. That's 3 G's. That tells you they are third cousins. Me and the babies are going to be first cousins still, even though they're second cousins to my son and Liam. They will be my first cousin because their grandmother is my first cousin and their parents are my first cousins. But they will be first cousin twice removed because those babies are 2 generations below me. So that's what the 1C, 2R means. First cousin twice removed. I've got a really cool ancestor in my family, Samuel Clemens, better known as Mark Twain. So if we try to figure out, there's quite a difference here between our ages. You can see by his tree over on the right-hand side there, he was born in 1835 and died in 1910. So that's about 60 years, 50 years, 55 years actually, before I was born. And I know that he is my second cousin 5 times removed. So how do we come to that number? Again, you have to find the most recent common ancestor that you share. It's going to be a grandparent. So I have figured out, based on his tree, because his parents were John Marshall Clemens and Jane Casey Lambton. So if we go up to his tree, I find out that Jane Casey Lambton's father was Benjamin Lambton. His father was William Lambton. I know that William Lambton was also my grandfather. And so we're going to start with William and Martha Lambton, who is the most recent common ancestor for both Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, and myself. Now, you can see by the chart there that there's a huge difference in the relationship levels, the linear levels between Samuel Clemens and myself. So William and Martha Lambton is Mark Twain's great-grandparents. To me, William and Martha Lambton are my 6 great-grandparents. The next level down, Sally Lambton Tobridge and Benjamin Lambton. So Benjamin is Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens' grandfather, and Sally Lambton Tobridge is my 5 times great-grandmother, and they were siblings. The next level down is the first cousin level. So we have Jane Casey Lambton, who is Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain's mother, and Isaac Trowbridge was her first cousin because he was the son of Sally Lambton Tobridge, and Isaac is my 4th great-grandfather. Now we've stopped on Samuel. So Samuel and Isaac's son, Jonathan Dillard Tobridge, they're linear again. They're on the same level. They are second cousins. For me, Jonathan is my 3rd times great-grandfather. So remember I said whatever your parent is, whatever your grandparent is in the cousin range is what you are going to be. Then you just have to add the removes because you go down in generations. So that level stopped on second cousins because Samuel Clemens is straight across from Jonathan Dillard Trowbridge. That's a linear connection. They are second cousins. So whatever I am going to be with Samuel Clemens, I know we are definitely second cousins. Now we just have to figure out the removed part. How many generations removed am I from Samuel Clemens? And remember that little tip I gave you before. If you don't know the number of cousins you are to somebody, connect the G's, count the G's that reaches you to your common ancestor. So for Jonathan and Samuel, the common ancestor is their great-grandparents. Because if you see up here on the right, William and Martha Lambton is Samuel Clemens' great-grandparents. So because Jonathan is in the same level, that is also his great-grandparents. So you see how many G's are in there. Great and grandparent. There's 2 G's, so they are second cousins. Now Jonathan had a daughter, Rebecca Tobridge Race. She married a Race. She is my great-great-grandmother. Rebecca had a daughter, Lulu Race Breeden. She is my great-grandmother. Lulu's daughter, Hoda, is my grandmother. And Rita Ann Gard Panchard is my mother. And then there's me. So now we have to look at how many generations removed. So we're stopped on the second cousins. And now you count how many generations removed there are. So the first generation would be Rebecca. And then Lulu. And then Hoda. So that's 3. And then Rita makes 4. And I make 5. So that's how I am second cousins, 5 times removed from Samuel Clemens, better known as Mark Twain. So I hope I've been able to clear up some of the confusion about the term cousins and explain what second, third, fourth cousin or cousin once removed means. If anyone has any further questions or would like some help with their family research, please feel free to reach out at me at the Tipton County Museum. The museum's phone number is 901-476-0242. Or you can reach me also by email. It's Sherri Onorati at covingtontn.com. That's SONORATI at Covington, COVINGTONTN.com. Again, I hope I've been helpful. Thank you for watching, and happy hunting. Bye-bye.